If you're not working hard, if you're not struggling, does it feel wrong? Hello and welcome to Say Yes to You and Why You Don't. For women who are great at saying yes to others and not necessarily as great at saying yes to themselves. I am Claudia Braun, mindset and lifestyle coach for women who are ready to start saying yes to themselves. So what is it about this idea that if you are not struggling, if you're not hardworking, you're somehow doing it wrong? This is the conversation that I was having with my client yesterday, and I thought, oh my gosh, how many times have I had this conversation, even with myself? It's like somehow I remember when I was in my 20s and I was taking a class with Julia Cameron. She had this writing class, and I remember writing about these gifts, like having gifts were somehow something that you just sort of threw away because they came easily to you, so that you could just give them away, but they didn't really matter. But what we were having this conversation about yesterday with my client is how we don't value these gifts, right? You throw them away like, well, anybody could do that. And she was talking about her son, who's so great with people. He just has an intuitive way of working with people. He knows how to help, assist. And I know as a coach, it's one of the skills that makes me a really great coach. And it's why I've been coaching for as long as I have been. And it's what I love about coaching. And I also know that there are lots of people who are super smart, but in terms of people skills, they don't have them. And yet it's so easy to think that because it comes easy and natural to you, it's no big deal. Do you have that thought? And that's what she and I were talking about. She's like, she thinks of herself as, I'm the hard worker. Like that's where she gets her recognition from, her kudos from. And she said, oh my gosh, like how often does that get in my way? Because it doesn't allow me to just do what it is that I want to do. I'm interested in doing. I feel called to do my creative self. So in this saying yes to others and not saying yes to yourself, do you notice how these old ideas, I'm the hard worker, I'm the one they can count on, can get in your way? And that's why today I'm offering you a sabotage assessment. Why sabotage assessment? A sabotage assessment allows you to understand where your mind gets in your own way. Sabotage, another word. Your mind undermines your success. So there is an assessment that I offer to my clients, and I want to give this to you today, and I'm attaching it to a 20-minute phone call. So I'm going to walk you through understanding what does this assessment mean and how is it impacting my life? And what I know is that you can take the assessment, but you don't really understand how to apply it. And so I've added a phone call to it so you can understand how to navigate this and how to really put it into practice to your own life, so you can really understand how to start doing things differently. So I'm going to have a link in the notes, and I invite you to access it. And I offer tools every week. I like to give something each week because I know how easy it is to stay in same old patterns, right? I know that clients would not hire me if they figured this out on their own. I work with women who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, sometimes decades. These patterns have been there. They don't go away overnight. Even if you begin to identify them, that's just the beginning. That's not how you turn it around. So I encourage you, take advantage of the assessment and the call that's attached to it so that you can really start stepping into a lighter, happier, more creative version of yourself. I was at a family gathering over the weekend, and I was having a conversation with somebody who was so clearly hanging out in patterns that did not serve her. And what I noticed is that even though I offered her some different ideas and ways, she was very attached to how stuck she was and how unable she was to change and how hard and terrible things were. This is what I know is what happens when you go it alone. You go it alone, your mind says this is how it has to be. Well, if you're not happy and your mind's telling you this is how it has to be, guess what? You're still going to be unhappy. And so I know the power of having assistance through these challenges, through these times that we don't expect. And they change us because they ask us to show up in a different way or experience something that we haven't experienced before. And if we haven't experienced it before, how do we know how to navigate it? And I know that the best way to know how to navigate it is to get support. Get help from somebody who, A, is not attached to how things have to go for you, and B, has some experience that can help you to see how your thinking is undermining you and standing in your way. Because here's the thing about these long-held patterns. They don't go away willingly. They're attached to you for a reason, right? So we're talking about this idea of you having to be this hard worker, show up in a certain way. If it comes too easily, can't be very valuable. That's an idea that get lodged in your mind. And that's what she and I were talking about. Like, how long ago did she pick up this idea? She's the hard worker. And how much was that getting in the way of her being able to have days and experiences that were right for her, that she really wanted, because her mind told her, no, you're the hard worker. So if your mind keeps telling you you're the hard worker, when you want to do something that is seemingly contrary to that, how willing is your mind going to be to allow you to do something different? Not so willing. And what I know, thought precedes action. If your thoughts do not align with where you want to go, your actions will not change. This is a process, and the process begins with your thinking. You cannot change your behavior without changing your thinking. It is a fundamental shift that needs to happen. You can't think the old thoughts and have a new way of being. And that is not always so easy to adopt because we're comfortable, right? We hang out in familiarity. We like familiar surroundings. We like people we know. We like doing things we've always done. Most of us are creatures of habit, creatures of comfort. And that's why people make the same resolutions every year. Because they're not aligning new thinking with new behavior. And so, dear listener, I invite you to take advantage of the assessment and the call so you can start seeing, how does your mind get in your own way? What are actions you could start to shift and change that would change things towards a direction that you would like to go? And I was having a conversation with my client, and she was saying, I'm making some changes and I can see that my husband's getting nervous because things we've done together, I'm shifting. What I wanted to do, I don't necessarily want to do anymore. And he's starting to think that, oh my gosh, she's going to change and leave me behind. And what she and I were saying is that, in fact, the opposite is true, that as she's changing and no longer wanting to participate in those things, she's offering an opportunity of conversation. She's opening the relationship to expansion, to grow, to evolve, to become what it can be, and instead of staying stuck and stagnant and feeling like it's really not that much fun. So there's so much that gets allowed to surface when you allow your mind to begin to ease the way to change. And that's the thing. It's not a radical, you turn off a switch and now your mind is thinking differently. It's a process of shifting and changing. But the discovery starts with understanding where your own mind is getting in your own way. And that's what she and I were talking about, is like, how powerful is it to start to see how your gifts and talents really serve you and allow you to step into your life in a very different way. And it allows you to appreciate you in a way you hadn't before. And that's what I notice so frequently in working with clients, is a lack of appreciation for themselves, lack of appreciation for their gifts, for their talents, for what they contribute, for how they make a difference. Because here's the thing about the mind. The tendency is to go into self-judgment, lack, what you don't have, what's missing, what's wrong with you, comparing yourself to somebody else. Somebody else is more gifted in their abilities to sing, to do photography, to do accounting, to be a lawyer, to be a doctor, whatever it is you're comparing yourself to have a home. When your mind is in that place of comparison and seeing what somebody else has that you don't, you end up feeling bad about yourself, and you end up feeling like you're not good enough and that your gifts and talents don't matter. And so the power is in your ability to turn that around. And it only happens by a willingness to slow down enough and identify, what is your mind doing? How is it working for you or getting in your own way? And that's what I identify with my clients, is that during the time that we spend together, that time that they give themselves to slow down, to really get clarity on what their mind is doing versus what the monkey on their back is telling them, keep going, keep up, you're not doing enough, you haven't done enough, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. When they slow it down and they begin to really identify, oh my gosh, look what I have done. Look what's gone well. Look at what I've changed. Look at what's happened as a result of me working on my mind, me making these changes. I'm a better teacher. I'm a better wife. I'm a better mom. I mean, then that comes to the surface. What changed? What changed was the willingness to sit and be present to what's really going on. The mind, like I said, will always show you what you haven't done, what's not good enough, where you haven't checked off the list, where you haven't checked off the box on the list, what you should have done, how you should have shown up better. Judge, 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 judge. In judge, 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 no appreciation, no gratitude, no perspective. And so this week, my friend, I invite you, start noticing. Does your mind ride you saying, work harder, work faster, keep up? What's wrong with you? Why aren't you keeping up? Why aren't you doing more? Why am I so overwhelmed? Why is life so hard? Is that the mantra that's going on in your head? Because if that's the mantra in your mind, know that there is something in place that's keeping that going. And what I invite you to do is take the assessment. It will give you a snapshot of what is going on. And then let me assist you to take it deeper so that you can walk away with a strategy. If it's your relationships you want to start to shift and turn around, let's go there. If it's your wellness that you want to turn around, let's go there. Or maybe you're feeling kind of stuck at work or overwhelmed at work or major anxiety at work. Let's go there. Because what I know is in this call, in this assessment, it can be catered to whatever direction is calling you now. Each of these areas is an aspect of you, right? Your work life, your relationships, your health and well-being. But there's always one area that is up at a time. And it's that area that's causing you the most pain and discomfort that we want to look at, that we want to get some clarity on. We want to shine a light on. Why? Not to show you what you're doing wrong, but what we can do to help you to experience more inner peace, well-being, joy. Doesn't that sound good? I am really aware of, in the conversations that I have with people, how bogged down by the world you can be. And I know it's really easy to look out there and think that that is the determiner of how you feel. And the power that you take back when you start to manage your own mind, you start to realize, regardless of what's going on out there, you can feel at peace if you want to. And you get to decide what you're going to respond to and what you're not going to respond to. That's where you take your choice back. So this week, identify where is I have to work hard. I have to keep up. They are expecting this. I'm known as the hard worker. Identify where does that show up in your life? What's the cost of that? What is the cost to you by running that and by identifying with that and giving that power in your life? What's the cost to you? Let me know. I would love to hear. And take advantage of the call. Give yourself permission to put yourself on your calendar by having a call with me, and allow yourself the gift of what could happen by identifying how your own mind is tripping you up. And the good news is, it doesn't have to. But I always think of it as like, when you don't have the key, the door doesn't open. The door opens, but if you don't have the key, it's not going to open. And that's what I see about this assessment. That's what I see about these tools. It's the opportunity to have the key to open your mind. Most of us were not taught how to manage our thinking, manage our minds. And that's what this does. It brings you back in charge, back in control, no matter what stage you're at in your life. Thank you for being here. Again, access the link to the assessment. I will put it in the show notes. I am Claudia Braun, mindset lifestyle coach for women, great at saying yes to others, not great at saying yes to themselves. Thank you for being on this podcast with me. Say yes to you and why you don't. I look forward to being with you next week. Bye for now.